is going live on Facebook also. We have with us Dr. KAMAL KISHORE. He's there and he'll be starting his session now. Professor, whenever you are ready, we are ready. Students are all excited. So how many of you are excited about this whole workshop for 2 days? Please type in the chat window. If you're excited, you can put E or excited. And
all right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you. Please go ahead and speak. We already introduced you and we have already worked it out. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Let me share. Let me start my share and then we'll carry on from there.
So do you want the chat window to be enabled or you want to be disabling it because it would...
Yeah, please enable the chat window. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all.
So if a participant drop it out because of network issues, you can join back again. You'll be able to join from wherever it started out. So you can join back if you drop out from this window. And we'll be doing around 1.5 hours, 2 hour session. Till what time you'll be taking this today?
So we'll do it for 1.5 hours. So I will, I'll be there speaking for about an hour or so, a little less than that. And then we will catch up with the questions, okay?
Right. So this session now starts and I'll give it to Professor KAMAL KISHORE to talk to you on this. We also have another session on critical thinking and decision making, right? By Professor Parimal Merchant, who's the director of SPGen and also a visiting faculty to us. He keeps visiting Taxila and online he'll be working and talking to you there. So that would be on Tuesday. So we'll be talking and sending you details about that also. It would start at 11:30 in the morning on Tuesday. And sir, please go ahead.
All right, give me a moment as I resize my window and I need to start looking at the chat. Where is the chat? As usual, the last moment issues of fitting in. So where is the chat window?
So a lot of participants want the chat window to be disabled because it keeps popping up on their cell phones in other places.
All right. So no, I need to see the chat window or else I will not be able to.
Okay, so you can click on the chat window and then see the down. If you see the chat is there, participants and near participants chat would be there.
No, I'll leave it because I can't locate it. But let's see. Can you see the presentation? Can you
Yes,
see
we
the
can
presentation?
see the presentation.
All right. You can see the presentation, right?
Yes, yes, we can see your presentation.
All right. No, see, I wanted to have a feedback from the participants.
Yes, they can see. They are typing in the chat window that they can see the presentation.
All right.
You
All
can
right.
go to
Good morning.
Do the slideshow.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm sorry for the delayed start. We just starting 20 minutes late, but nevertheless, I assure you this is going to be an engaging one. Just that I'm not able to, this is a new Zoom that I have downloaded and I'm not able to see the chat window. And hence I am not sure whether I'll be able to see what you guys are saying, but I will request help from
Lavina will be
organizers
there.
Professor
Lavina is there. She'll be helping you in between. So if anything is typed out, she'll be able to speak and Bhavani will also help you.
All right, all right, all right. Okay. Tomorrow, I guess we should be better prepared. Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is a difficult time for all of us, and I hope that everybody is safe at their places. They are not venturing out unnecessarily. This is the most crucial time for COVID-19 virus. The spread that is happening right now is quite closely connected with the community spread. And hence, if you are going out and touching things unknowingly somewhere, you are going to catch it and you are going to spread it. So this is the time when you have to exercise maximum caution. and do the work as you must, but you are also responsible for your own health and the health of people around you. So please assure yourself that you will not be the cause for COVID-19 spread. So move out as less as possible and be careful with all the sanitary procedures that you have to follow. Right. So now for today, is everybody able to listen to me properly? I want to ensure myself.
Yes, you are able. Everyone is able to listen to you.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So you look at it. So let's start from the evolution of mankind. That where did civilizations develop? They developed around areas where there was possibility of commerce. So if you see, they started developing around the rivers. They started, as more population started spreading out, they started concentrating around areas of production. And then areas from where you could go and come. For example, ports, seaports, and the kacha or pakka road structures that were there during those times. The idea there was that you are not self-sufficient, and if you've got something in excess, you must trade it for something. That is the rise of entrepreneurship. So if somebody thinks that he can grow more and sell it profitably through a barter, you may not get a prize in terms of money or dollar, but when you get back something that you don't produce, that's the starting point of trade. And that's the starting point of entrepreneurs. If you look at it further, innovation, for example, the fire, or for example, the wheel, or anything and everything that came up later, whether it was telephone or steam engine or flying or something, it is all because somebody was not happy at home seeing what is happening around. So I must do something more. That's the rise of the phenomenon and a skill called creativity. If you are not there, if you are not contributing something different, you will lead a very, very normal and a general life. And you can't even imagine the life of people who have been the innovators. Even today, all the quiz questions and every other question that people ask around, who invented this, who discovered that, their name is immortal. The people who have innovated across the civilization, across the evolution, their name has been immortal. It's not necessary that every innovator goes on to become a businessman. It is not necessary that entrepreneurship thrives on every idea. Many an idea or gem of wisdom have gone unsaid, unreported, just because people did not have the ability to commercialize it or even speak about it. Now, speak about it, not that they did not have a tendency to speak. They had a tongue to speak from, but they did not get the right audience to speak to. They did not get the right markets to go to. That's where the organizing efforts of the government and the society came in. And as the organized efforts grew, the rules and regulations grew, large companies, small companies, large companies, registered companies, everything started taking shape. And our story of today starts from there. The starting point, the idea is not enough. You have to grow it either through your own effort, put everything together what is required, whether it's a production place or people or an idea or assembly place, and go to the market and do everything around it. That's called entrepreneurship. Or somebody has built an organization and they are trying to grow. Somebody has built an organization which needs contribution from people, ideas, employees. That's entrepreneurship. So we need to, today's session will mostly talk about the difference between these two and what does MBA, a typical MBA, do to you, And what do you derive out of developing only these two skills if you had to do in life? So to start with, how many of you really feel great about being an entrepreneur? Now that we all know there are not enough jobs in the government, and we all know the large enterprises are mostly going on to machines. They are automating procedures. There are computers everywhere. There are robots everywhere. Even the prediction is being done by the machines themselves, self-styling, self-speaking machines. And this is just the starting point. And this will keep on increasing, enlarging, to the point where people will really have to think about what is the reason for their existence. Each one of us will have to think about, if I have to make a better life for myself, what different can I do? And if I have to give you one idea today, you have to think about whether you can be an entrepreneur, do something that drives you, that excites you, that creates job, rather than you looking for a job, that creates jobs for you, that creates value for the government and the society, that creates products for the customers, the consumers of the world, that creates money for you to fulfill whatever your needs. And that, if to me, there is one profession which completely utilizes the YOU, that is you, is entrepreneurship. It utilizes you completely. It leaves no scope for not utilizing your abilities. It just leaves no scope. And I agree that a lot of you might feel that, sir, entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of tea, which is fine. Entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of tea. It requires sometimes, an idea, not just an idea. It requires imagination. It requires you to organize things. It requires you to get the networks to contribute. It requires you to go to the market, to talk to the customers. It requires you to do a marketing around it, and then a production center, a distribution center, a lot of things that are required, which I may not be capable. But remember that no entrepreneur would have become a unicorn today if they thought like this. Nobody knows anything, but as वो कहते हैं ना बात की लोग जुड़ते गए और कारवां बनता गया. That is what happens in an entrepreneur's life. He starts with an idea, she starts with an idea, gets the right set of people and tools around it, and then starts the business. Now everybody, it's not everybody's cup of tea, I know, and I also know, which we will talk more about it tomorrow, is about the failure rate of entrepreneurship. So as research comes in, there are more than 90% failure rates of entrepreneurial organizations within the first 3 years of their formation. Now the problem is not that an effort is dying. And problem is even not that the entrepreneurship is dying. An effort may die, an entrepreneur will always remain alive. Because if one effort dies, he will go on to the next effort. He's a dreamer. He's a man full of ideas. And that's how every effort starts. It starts from zero. And it goes to a certain extent, and then if it fails, you come back to zero on some other effort. That's entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur never dies. Entrepreneurial effort, a company or an enterprise or a product may fail. Entrepreneurs don't fail. Similarly, if not everybody can be an entrepreneur, but still you are a person full of ideas. You're a person full of energy. How do you utilize that? You think that without resources you can't start a company, that's fine. Nobody has told you so far that it's not about resources, it's more about, how do you organize things around it. If you don't have a resource, get a partner who has a resource. And there are 2 partners, 3 partners, 5 partners. Infosys was more than 5, 6 partners. Everybody brings in complementary abilities. But that is something that we'll discuss tomorrow. The point here is, today I want to focus on entrepreneurship. So if you are a person full of ideas and energy, and you don't have the wherewithal, the resources, the drive, the hunger to start a company or to start an entrepreneur's effort, you join a company. Now, to join a company, there are ways and means. You do it basis your most basic qualification, that is a graduation. And we all know the kind of markets that we live in today. It's very difficult to find a very respectable job immediately after graduation, unless you have done the graduation from a very respected, for example, IIT or some NIT. Very few other graduates, doctors also fall in the same this thing, but very few other graduates find direct jobs. So you do a master's, an MBA, or master's in any area, and then look for a job. You want to call yourself a specialist. But why? Have you ever answered why does a market value a postgraduate more than a graduate? So a graduate is mostly limited to the foundational knowledge about a certain sector or a certain function. And that is there everywhere. You don't, let's say if you have to start a business, somebody would ask me, what is the deadline of starting a business? I would say yesterday. When should you have been an entrepreneur? I would say the moment you started thinking that it is possible to be an entrepreneur. There are entrepreneurs at the age of 6, 7, 8. There are boys or girls, I don't know, I vaguely remember, that they have sold worth $1 million a game that they developed just because they wanted to do something in creating something new. And they sold and they became entrepreneurs at the age of 6, 7, 8. So there is no fit age to be an entrepreneur, but to be an entrepreneur, to start working in an organization, you just have to be better than the foundational, the people who have foundational knowledge, because it's a market out there. See, if somebody is getting a PhD, they may not hire a postgraduate. Somebody is getting a postgraduate, they may not hire a graduate. And if postgraduates and PhDs are not available and they will have to hire graduates, then they will not hire a class 12th pass, but they have to hire a graduate. So it's about the differentiation that you create in yourself through a degree. That's the first point, where you get your CV in front of the HR of the organizations to look at what is this person's capability. They assess, they judge, this is your qualification. Now somebody would say, sir, qualification is not enough. You give me a chance and I will show you what kind of a person am I. That's determination. But that determination doesn't work till that CV is shortlisted by the HR. So that's a minimum basic that I would encourage all of you to find out a good MBA around you, but we'll talk more about it a little later. Once you get into the organization, then the energy inside you, the creativity inside you, everything good that you find in yourself that you still feel that has not been utilized, you would like to utilize it at the workplace. Now, you will be startled, astonished to note that 90% plus, in fact, I would even go on to say 95% plus people, when they get a job, they just get into organization and then just about pass their time just because they've been given a set of job and there is a money, a compensation, a salary that is coming against that job, and their life revolves around doing that same stuff over and over again and again and again. And at some point of time in their careers, they started sulking, this did not happen to me, that did not happen to me. Somebody junior came below me and he has risen above in the organization. Somebody has got a faster promotion. Somebody else who licks the boot of the boss and he rises in the, she rises in the organization. And I'm an honest worker and I'm not able to create a space for myself. Remember, for a 100-meter race, there are thousands of athletes who try. There are only hundreds who reach the final trials. There are only 20 who reach the tournament heats. Heats is the process of selection of semi-final and final. And then there are only maybe around 10 or 8 who run in the finals. And out of those 8 or 10 also, if you see that they have trained themselves for very long in life. So some people might say, oh, I am so experienced, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of experience. I'm the best person in the job market. Why is the companies, why are the organizations not looking at me? So then I will again draw your attention to those 8 people who run the 100-meter race final. All of them are very well trained, very experienced. Some of them might be new, but some of them are very experienced. They start running till 70 meters, till 80 meters. I'm talking about a 100-meter race. Till 70 meters, 80 meters, it is their abilities which make them run very fast, very fast. The last 30 meters is not run on physical abilities. The last 30 meters, 20 meters, or even let's say, even if you call it 15 or 10 meters, is run on your, what is the drive in you? One of the coaches told his athlete, run a race like it is the last race of your life. I can bet if a dog starts running after you, you will run the fastest race in your life. Because there you are actually worried about your life. The life and death makes you do wonders. And so the last 10, 20, 30 meters is run on what is the drive inside you? What drives you so strongly, so passionately? Those are the people who run and win the golds and silvers and bronze. Now every race is like that only. Do you think you're not running a race in an organization? If you started working in an organization, do you think that the day you enter, let's say as a junior manager, you would love to be junior managers for the next 20 years, 30 years? Absolutely no. So it is how you run that race. How do you prepare for that race? So the first preparation that gives you is a good education and a good post-graduation. And let's say if you are wanting to get into business, a good MBA. Beyond that, what will help you run that race? I'm not talking of a rat race. Let us not talk about rat races. Rat race is like, a bad race which everybody cannot run. And that is the reason why rat races are run only by IIMs and IITs of the world. If you had an IIM-IIT qualification, you will not be amongst the 640 participants on this webinar. But I'm talking about the other 95% of the graduates and postgraduates. More than 95%. How do they run that race? And again, I'm emphasizing, I'm not talking about rat race. You will definitely within 3 years, if you don't get a promotion, you will start feeling bad. Why would you start feeling bad? Because somebody else is running faster than you. you have to at least run as fast as your closest competitor. So your friend could be a competitor to you. If both of you are working at the same place and the manager comes to you that there is a promotion opportunity, who is going to give up because I have only one place and there are two of you and both are friends? Nobody gives their place to anybody else, even at the cost of friendship. So that is what is a race. I mean, you have already started running that race. There is no friend out there in that sense. Friends by heart is a different case. I'm talking about friends at workplaces. You're running a race in your life also. You will not love to be static at one place. Obviously, last 2 months might have been the most, kind of difficult months you might have spent at your home because of COVID-19, just because you could not move out. It's a difficult period. You want to walk. You want to run. You want to be in the race. Whether even if it is like, let's run faster because there will be a queue outside McDonald's tonight. It's a Saturday. So let me run faster because I want to be first in the queue. I don't want to wait outside the McDonald's restaurant. Everywhere you're running a little race unknowingly, but the organizational races are much more serious. And who are the kind of people who win those races? Who win those races are the intrapreneurs. Let me get you to the next slide. Look at it. I want to differentiate and bring it clearly out in your minds about who are entrepreneurs and who are intrapreneurs. Entrepreneurs are businessmen. They're more like, the shining star. They change the game. A Flipkart comes and changes the game, and Ola, Uber comes and changes the game, and Oyo comes and changes the game. How the game was being played till then. These are game changers. They have more freedom because nobody has asked them to do something. They are driven by themselves. There is no resistance from anywhere because nobody is asking you why you are doing it. But there are no resources also because you are doing it on your own. The first set of resources is what? Your pocket money, which you got from your parents, from your friends, or maybe you got a rich friend who became your partner and the initial resources came from him. The main challenge there is, do you know the market? Do you know the customer? And if you have made a product or a service, how credible is that in helping the customer solve his or her problem or his or her need? As compared to that, an intrapreneur, who I also call a corporate entrepreneur because they work in organizations for somebody else who is an entrepreneur. Sometimes government is an entrepreneur. So all the government companies and organizations and public sectors are where the government is the owner of the business and you are working there. But you could still work there as an entrepreneur. And that is where I will call you an intrapreneur. And these days, mind you, if in a job interview, if you are able to prove certain capabilities, of an intrapreneur, you are more likely to get a job and a better pay, better salary than a normal average person. Now you have to understand how to do this. So let's do that. So a corporate entrepreneur, that is an intrapreneur, is more like a asteroid. He or she survives in a larger system. You are the value creator in the organization. There is less risk of execution. There was a signal of some problem in the network connectivity. Are you able to listen to me? Can somebody confirm to me?
Yes, sir. There is no issue.
Can
We all can
somebody
hear you.
confirm that? Yes, Professor Lavina, I take it from
Yes,
you
you were
that we
audible.
are able to listen to, right?
Yes.
All right. Pardon?
You're audible to us. No issue, sir.
Pardon? All right, I'll take that, you know, the sound is normal. So I will continue. So you have this entrepreneur who has a less execution risk, because if he fails, it is the organization that pays for it. Whereas if a businessman, entrepreneur fails, it is his or her own money. It's the company's resources that an entrepreneur works on. It's a corporate who is venturing, but the idea comes from entrepreneur. And the main challenge there is the company's culture. Now, how do I define that? Is when you come with an idea to your boss, what is his first reaction? And then how does he support your idea? Is the first reaction saying, "Arey yaar, teko jitna kaam diya utna kar lena," or saying, "Harshad, you have done a good job. It looks like doable. Let me think it over." And then he or she calls, the boss calls back the person, "Let's do it. I'll find out resources for you." Let me bring you to this slide now. Can all of you read it? So I'm asking a question, what is common here? So I really, I would have loved if I could interact with people, and it's unfortunate that today I generally use Microsoft Teams and Blue Jeans. I rarely use Zoom, and so I'm not able to see the chat window. I'll figure it out today after this, but I'll find out a way to interact better with all of you tomorrow. But as I said, I would have loved to interact live with you. So the question here I'm throwing in this slide is, what is common here? Spencer Silver and 3M Post-it note. You've seen, all of you have seen those yellow and green and pink color Post-it notes, which stick but don't stick. The next one is Steven Sassoon, the first time who, the portable digital camera, which was brought out by Kodak, or Gmail itself, Paul, very famous person, and Gmail, or Ken, Sony PlayStation, or Naveen Buddhiraja on Mobile Global and Infosys, or Siva Kumar, ITC's eChopal, Yogesh Deveshwar, ITC, Krishna Bhagat, Google News, Nitin Paranjape, HLL, Hindustan Levers, Hemant and Pawan, the Bosch Group, Deepak Kapoor, Maersk, which is the world's second largest shipping company. And then there are numerous product teams of TCS, Infosys, Wipro, 3M, HP, Intel, Microsoft, GM, Xerox, Virgin, Siemens. What is common across all of them? Since I've given you a background, there is no secret in this. All of these people, none of them are entrepreneurs. All of them are intrapreneurs. They worked within the organizations. Some of them worked as CEOs like Nitin Paranjape. And some of them were very, first level engineers who just came in with ideas, full of ideas. A lot of them are very junior guys when they started within those companies. They came out with an idea. They wanted to pursue that idea. The corporate culture allowed them to pursue those ideas. And that is the reason, now imagine, any one of you can be the corporate entrepreneur who could bring the first post-it note or a Gmail or an ITC e-Chopal or a retail engine or the ways to reduce fuel consumption on ships, which saves billions of dollars. Gmail, imagine, any one of you gets a chance to be associated with any such product, which is a game changer. Why would you not like to be in that situation? But it just doesn't happen by the speed of thought. You have to prepare yourself. You have to do something better than what your next door friend or a competitor or a person who works with you is doing. Why do you deserve a better pay than the other person who is working with you? Why do you deserve a faster promotion than the other person working with you? Why do you deserve to work in a multinational than the other person who is already working there? You have to answer these questions. So if you don't have a question of this kind in your life, then probably this webinar is not for you. You still need to answer these questions of who are you? What role are you going to play in the organization that you are going to work? Look at this. So this slide just brings out what entrepreneurs do differently, the different things which an entrepreneur doesn't do, what entrepreneur does differently that what an entrepreneur doesn't do, and there is a common intersection. We will only focus on the common intersection. Both kinds of people do these things. If you want to, so mind you, my presumption here is all of you who are attending this, whether they are very young kids or I have seen in some photographs, there are reasonably very experienced people also on this. Probably they are trying to get some ideas for their kids, but that's fine. The presumption that I'm making here is each one of you would be willing to be the leader at their workplaces, to be a leader in their society, to be a leader amongst their group of friends, to be what you are, to be what you are capable of. So what should you be capable of if you want to be that kind of a person? Look at the intersection here. Do you have the ability to generate ideas? Do you have the ability to sell your idea? You have to put a budget around it. So you have to understand finance and accounting to be able to put a budget around what you want to do yourself as an entrepreneur, or if you want to give an idea to the organization that you are working about what is the cost and what is the returns. Do you have the ability to form and lead teams? So there are some people in that list which I just showed to you in the previous slide. That list was quite a lot about individual people, individual brilliance, as well as team leaders. So the individual brilliance is an opportunity also that you can dream of bringing out an innovation that nobody has done before. But even after bringing out that idea, when these people would have gone to their managers and bosses and the company board, they would still have had to put a team together, because an idea is just the starting point. If you have to do it well, if you have to execute it well, if you have to bring out the final product or a service for the customers, then you have to build a team and put together and lead those teams. Do you have that ability? Do you understand your product? Are you able to spot opportunities? Are you able to assess and manage your risk? Everybody, takes that. For example, if you are going towards, let us say, a jungle safari. When you are going to a jungle safari, you are making yourself sure that a tiger doesn't jump from anywhere and kills you, right? You would like to doubly check the cage in which your jeep will let you travel and see from inside. If it's a hot season, you will carry your water bottle. What is all of that? In a small measures of risks, that if you feel thirsty, where will you run to have water? So keep my own bottle. That's risk management for you. Are you able to assess and manage the risks of doing a business or executing an idea? And that's an advanced thought. It just is not lying anywhere. You have to make an assessment based on your understanding of the business. Are you able to do that? Where do you develop these capabilities? Make strategic decisions, understand market demand, communicate effectively in a business language. You are able to influence your customers, your teammates, your bosses, the people around you, the vendors, the suppliers. And you also understand technology and patterns. Where do you get all this knowledge? If not, let me tell you that, in one life, there is no other place where you get all of these things together except a place where you either do a liberal arts study and a very compact course on liberal arts, or an MBA. Now, what is common between an MBA and a liberal arts is that both of them draw from the knowledge existing in different varied fields. So an MBA which talks about operations management is borrowing from some knowledge of engineering and accounting and finance from the professional accountants and financing world. Then you have marketing, which is a different world. Then you have HR, sociology, behavioral psychology, and all of these come together to prepare you as a manager for future. Similar things are done by liberal arts, but in a different way. There is no other place where you get everything together at one place to be able to develop the managerial capabilities inside you. So now I will spend, let's say we are already touching 12:30. Can somebody let me know how much time do we have? Because we started 20 minutes late. Ideally, I should have a break here, but if you give me 10 minutes and then another 10-15 minutes for question answers, I think we will be good.
So we can stretch it to 1 or 1:15.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Professor Lavina. So quickly, I'll run to the next 2-3 slides, more of it for you to understand that why entrepreneurship skills are much more important today. And if some of you have been reading what is going to be the new normal, the new business normal after COVID-19, this challenge is going to, it's already there and it's going to go away. There is no doubt about that. But the world of business is going to be different. Just normal skills will not work for you as they used to work previously. Now, again, I'm making a presumption that you want a good career. You want good money. You want a good growth. And you want a good acceptance from the people around you that you are the person. I want you. If you don't have that hunger or that desire, then probably this webinar may be a wrong place for you. So why the entrepreneurship skills are more in demand today? Because, the earlier ideas can bring the business to grow to a certain point where there are resources, but there are not enough ideas for the company. Now, ideas can be on a new product, on a new utility of an existing product, or a new way to reach your customers from an existing product. The companies need growth more than they ever needed. Innovation. Look at it. Why innovation is being more talked about today is there is technology everywhere. And they're changing very fast. 10 years back, you have to stand in a line, for 1 hour to get a ticket booked for railways. And where you are today, you never knew what would happen. You always left the job of booking for a hotel when you reach a certain city, because you don't know. Phone pe book karenge to wo kitne paise pe book karega, ja karke dekhenge. Now today there are standardized list of things that are available at hotels, and they are available at half the price sometimes. So you just did not solve, somebody did not just solve the problem of access, the visibility, the money part of the cost of it. Everything is getting solved by technology today. Machines are replacing humans. How will a human being survive 20 years, 30 years from now? Some of you who would start your careers today would go on till the next 30 years. And all of that change is going to happen in your life. The only way a human being can become more capable of surviving in a different world tomorrow is by being creative. Because please put that in your mind here, that all repetitive jobs are going to be replaced by machines. So I'll give you just one example. There are a lot of migratory labor which have moved from the fields and the factories back to their hometowns during the last 1 month, 1.5 months, because of virus anxiety. Now, do you think the companies will lay back and wait for them to come back? No. A lot is already happening. If you don't know, Punjab and Haryana, the fields are now getting sown. Paddy is getting sown by machines in place of the traditional, the labor-oriented paddy sowing. Paddy means, which grows into rice. The paddy plants that have to be sown in the fields to grow into rice. And so I'm telling you that, quite a lot of work around you is going to be done by a machine in another 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. All of that will happen in your lifetime. So what is the requirement is the organization needs to be innovating all the time, and it is all the more important today. And entrepreneurs are those who are going to do this work. Next slide is, there is a bigger requirement for leaders to come in and play their role. There is a leader in everybody amongst you. It requires your own effort or your mentor's effort or a situation, which is called situational leadership, or a situation that helps you bring out your leadership skills. You need to understand the future. You need to understand the risks around, you need to understand the risks around the businesses. You have to think differently than your competitor's business. If you are in the same field, same area, same competition, one of you is going to die. And entrepreneurship is also the best way, a culture developed is the best way to get the best people in your company, because if you hire the wrong set of people, you are doomed from beginning. Another thing that brings out the entrepreneurship skills importance today is the change that is happening around you. Companies are formed, is a change. Company growing is a change. Company getting sold to another company is a change. The product is changing because the customers want something different is a change. Anything and everything else. ERP, when you get an ERP, a new software to manage your company processes, is a change. Even getting a new person in your team, a new hire, is a change, because now you have to do well with that person. A boss is changing is a change. Now the problem is not the change itself. The problem is, how do people cope up with changes? If you ask me something which is, give me a moment. If you ask me for a change in the way in which we bring up our children, I would say make them face difficulties, challenges, failures. They may fail, right? But you are around them to buck them up and say, don't worry, next time you will succeed. Problem is, we want to keep our kids, you would have seen it around you. Even you, when you start feeling, difficulty in changes, you start shouting at your mom and dad because it's the easiest to do like that. Because you know that where will they go? I'm their son or a daughter. Nothing happens to me if I shout. But it's your frustration that you cannot meet the challenge of change. And mind you, you're not alone. 60 to 70% failure rate is what is predicted from studies, that people really don't like change. Change is happening around you of every kind. The problem there is, if the organizations which are more in requirement of a change, and you have change resistant people inside, if you don't have the right culture inside, there is a problem. And entrepreneurs are the most flexible people. That flexibility in your behavior, that let any change come, I am ready for it. This is what is required more today. Similarly, another thing, that the employees don't engage. You come and go. You do your job. You are not, for example, when people say मजाक में कि मेरी तो 2 शादी हुई है, एक मेरी wife से, एक मेरे job से. That's a figurative way to say that this person has 2 commitments, set of commitments. One, obviously, in your personal life with your wife and no other woman, and the other side with your job and no other job. That is why even in the contract which you receive at the time of employment, it is written that you will not be employed gainfully at any other workplace if you want to work with me. I want your full commitment and engagement in my job, the job that you are going to do. And look at the research estimates. In US alone, $450 billion in lost productivity. And that is about more than 30 lakh crores of rupees. And some such similar number in India, I would guess, my guess is, we have we have a bigger problem of engagement of employees at workplace in India. So organizations slowly as they grow because of the market, but internally they are dying. So the day they face the first challenge from the market, they are going to be behind their competition. But entrepreneurs have passion and determination, and these are the people who are going to. This is my last slide for the day, and we'll carry on tomorrow from here. But I want to leave you guys with what kind of skills do entrepreneurs need, because I expect that most of you will be working at organizations or trying to find an MBA which prepares you better for the future. And so what is the kind of skill that is going to be at a premium, which is going to be the decider whether you will get the job or somebody else will, are some of these. That you need to be knowledgeable about your internal and external environment. It's important to understand what's happening inside. For example, when people say you should be well prepared for interview, what they're saying is find out the background of that company, find out the background of the industry in which that company works, so that if there is a question around what challenges are there for the company, you are the best person to discuss that. But quite often, more often than not, we are not worried about. We are more engrossed in that I am a ready person because I have done this course and that course. And I have got training in soft skills. And so I am fully ready. No, it's not just, these are most basics. More basic things. What will get you the job is what different thing you bring on table. And the different thing could be knowledge about internal and external environment. If you are able to prove that you love challenges and you have a future vision, this visionary, something which is intimidating. You might feel that, अरे sir, क्या बात कर रहे हैं ये visionary? हर आदमी visionary थोड़े होता है. महात्मा गांधी visionary थे, विवेकानंद visionary थे. क्या मैं भी visionary हूँ? No. What I mean to say is your ability to predict the future of certain actions that you are doing today and to understand the risks associated with that future is the first starting point of a visionary person. You are not accepting what is lying, but you are trying to change. That is what brings out the visionary capability inside you, because when you change, you already know a little bit about after change what will happen, right? So that's the vision I'm talking about. Are you diplomatic enough? Now this diplomacy, again, it's not about foreign diplomacy or, एक bite करना कहीं पे और नुक्ताचीनी करना. It's not that diplomacy. Diplomacy, in very simple words, if I have to explain to you, that जब आप एक normal life में एक बच्चे से मिल रहे हैं, तो क्या आप बच्चे से बच्चे की तरह पेश आ सकते हैं? और जब आप एक बुजुर्ग से मिल रहे हैं, तो क्या उनके साथ एक बुजुर्ग की तरह behave कर सकते हैं? और जब आप अपने फ्रेंड के साथ हो, वही सेम पर्सन अपने फ्रेंड के साथ हो, तो कैन यू फील फ्री अबाउट बीइंग विथ योर सेम एज फ्रेंड्स? कैन यू get your personality split into these three? So that's not a negative personality split, but it's just about the starting point of trying to understand that every situation is different, in which you have to behave differently and come good to expectations. You are diplomatic because you need to be diplomatic because you are dealing with different teams. Are you able to? So you don't get a chance to evaluate how diplomatically you will be able to work in an organization team even before joining the organization. You don't have a way to assess that. So the way to assess that is what I told you, is whether your ability to interact with different sets of people in your normal life, are you able to leave a mark? Is the boy coming back, the little boy coming back, मेरे को ये uncle बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं? Is the friend coming back at the same time saying, यार तेरे से अच्छा friend कोई नहीं मिला? Or that बुजुर्ग will come back and say, तेरे जैसा बेटा मेरे को मिल जाता तो? And it's the same person. Now, transport yourself into a work environment where there are cross-functional teams. Finance team works in a certain way. They'll always put questions. Audit will always put questions. Marketing will always be full of ideas and, customers and requirements. Production will always be full of, an environment where they want certainty around things, regularity of flow, no change, in time, everything in time and all those. So you're dealing with different sets of people and different requirements. Are you able to to play around the relationships with them, to come out saying, yaar, isse badhiya leader nahi mila tha, isse badhiya manager nahi tha pehle. Next, are you able to build a professional network around you? So till yesterday, there you could be a problem, but after LinkedIn has come, that is a good starting point. You are able to connect with people whom you like, whom you know, and with whom you share your knowledge. But there are many other ways and mediums in order to network with people with similar knowledge, similar professional backgrounds, a similar industry, similar functional experience. All right, next, ability to persevere. Is that, things will fail. अगर आप कुछ नहीं करेंगे ना तो कभी failure नहीं आएगा आपके पास. But you will never like to be in that situation. तो जब कुछ नहीं करेंगे तो क्या fail होगा? But कुछ करेंगे तो failure आएगा. और जब failure आएगा तो आपके पास तरीके होने चाहिए उनको मिल बांट करके दोस्ती यारी बनाने का. Uncertainty बहुत है. Everywhere there things are changing, technology is changing, people are changing, people are becoming more frustrated, so they'll bring their personal life also at workplaces. So even work environments are changing. So your ability to persevere is in the face of change and failure and questions being asked, how are you able to keep on motivating yourself? अब अगेन आप पूछेंगे सर ये तो जब जॉब में जाएंगे तब पता लगेगा. आज की डेट में मैं कैसे इवैल्यूएट करूं कि मैं एबिलिटी टू परसिवर है या नहीं मुझ में. तो मैं कल अपने बेटे से बात कर रहा था कि सीरियसनेस किसको बोलते हैं. फुटबॉल की कोचिंग करता है वो, और आजकल इसमें ऑनलाइन कोचिंग हो रही है, सामने वीडियो चलता है और आप देख रहे हो. जब आप वहां पे होते हो फील्ड में, तो आपका कोच आपको देख करके बीच बीच में टोकते रहता है. क्या कर रहे हो, ठीक से करो, पैर सीधा करो, तेज मारो, लेफ्ट भागो, राइट भागो, क्या कर रहे हो. नाउ व्हेन यू आर नॉट इन द डायरेक्ट व्यू ऑफ योर कोच एट होम, इधर हाथ लगा दिया, उधर हाथ लगा दिया, इधर हाथ उठा दिया, ऊपर उठा दिया और हो गई एक्सरसाइज. नो, your seriousness comes out when nobody is watching you and you are still committed to what you want to do. I hope you understand. कुछ करने की अगर ठानी है ना, तो इसलिए नहीं कि कोई देख रहा है इसलिए मेरे को करना है. मुझे करना है, और उसके लिए जो भी मौके लगेंगे, जो भी नॉलेज लगेगा, मैं कहीं से भी लेकर के आऊं. एक जगह गया, नहीं मिला, हार नहीं मानी. दूसरी जगह गए, वहां नहीं मिला, हार नहीं मानी. तीसरे बंदे से पूछा, वहां नहीं मिला, हार नहीं मानी. बिंग में गए, गूगल में गए, कहीं ना कहीं से चीजें अवेलेबल होती हैं. आज की लाइफ में कोई चीज ऐसी नहीं है जो अवेलेबल नहीं है नॉलेज के नाम पे. एंड देन come to that, the people with special skills today are going to be preferred than tomorrow. So if it is about ERP, knowledge of ERP, knowledge of data, analysis of data, visualization of data, leadership experience, working in teams, there are new skills that you have to develop. And all of these are possible to be developed at a good MBA institution. I don't need to tell you where you should look for these, but I want to end up saying today that a good corporate entrepreneur, that is an intrapreneur, makes everyone a hero around him or her. That is the stature, that is the personality that you want to bring in your life. And the first step to that is to choose the right set of postgraduate MBA, which gives you that kind of a learning. And I will stop here and I will seek help from, because I can't see the chat, otherwise I would have picked up some questions from there. But if somebody can help me to get me to certain questions, we'll spend some 10 minutes on the questions.
Yes, sir. So we can do that. So if you want to address some of the questions, I can ask them to put that in chat box and I'll communicate the same questions to you.
Yes, please. So now this point onwards, only if you have put certain questions, there are about 600 people in this. So I'm sure there could be a lot of questions. So the questions could be picked up randomly, and Professor Lavina and her team would help us get some of those questions, which we'll try to answer today, and then we'll carry on tomorrow.
Right. So students, if you have any relevant questions, please drop them in the chat box. I'll communicate the same to Professor K.K. Sharma. Okay, so there is one question.
Okay.
As today's world, just a second, students, you have to hold on. You cannot just go on with the questions like that. Hold on. Just a second.
I think you have to quickly capture,
So yes,
copy,
that's what.
and open a Word window.
Yes, because it's going very fast.
And whatever comes is a chance, random chance that any question will be picked up.
Okay, how COVID-19 will change the situations and how would the entrepreneurs cope up with that?
All right. I was expecting that question. It's a good question. And you know, it's a very difficult answer to it as well. So my first take on that will be that the workplace will change. A lot will be done remotely. We're already seeing that happening in education. What I am doing right now is a remote touch up with you guys. On any other day, I might have found you in the beautiful auditorium that this Taxila, I visited there once. This business school has developed. Otherwise, you would have to travel hundreds of kilometers to be with me on that day. But today we are able to do this. And so people will find out this much easier way of interacting. A lot will happen remotely. You would not believe some of the, I think it is TCS or HCL or somebody, which has already declared that for next 1 year, more than 50% of their, just give me a moment. Somebody is requesting remote control of my screen. Why do you need that? So a lot of things will happen remotely just because people have found out an easy and cost-effective way to do. There are ways and means today with the telecom and the video technology. You are able to assess people working at home, right? That, you know, how much time did they spend in front of computer? And two, what were you doing when you were on that computer? Both of these can be assessed by machines, can be assessed by sensors, can be assessed by counters. And hence, tomorrow's offices would be, what has happened? Okay, so tomorrow's offices are going to be much less time consuming. There'll be a lot of things that will happen on remote. Now, your question is on entrepreneurs. What will happen to entrepreneurs? See, an entrepreneur who is not able to solve a problem, that product will definitely fail. If that product or service does not identify a need and satisfies that need in a time-bound manner, those products and services will fail. I might, for example, let me pick up an example. So the traditional sabzi wala, who is there outside your society, in an environment where every piece of vegetable or a fruit will be delivered at home without any cost, and those people who are delivering are also conscious about that it should be free of COVID-19, less, hygiene standards, why would you go out and buy it from the traditional sabzi wala? I'm already seeing that the person sitting outside our society, his sales might have been down by more than 50% ever since this society allowed the fruits and vegetables to be delivered at home. So the traditional businesses who do not fall in line with the requirements of the new customer. A customer may himself or herself be old, but his needs might change to become new. So you see that most of the learning, quite a lot of it, the skills are now being offered free of cost or more than 70–80% of discount, but still there are thousands of people who are taking up new courses to improve their skills. So what happens to the training institutions that have been set up in your neighborhood? Or let us say, some Tripolia Bazaar, or let us say some MI Road or some place. If there is a training institute that might fail now because it might get less and less people. And those MBAs which will be able to define a bouquet of things or skills that are required. For example, MBA with data analytics, MBA with creative capabilities, MBA with, let us say, cloud and IoT, MBA with, let's say, artificial intelligence, MBA with financial analysis models, MBA with real options, such as something, and that could be a combination. That could be a combination of different things. So in that sense, all the businesses, products and services that do not conform to the needs, the changing needs of the customers, you have to have the ability to foresee that those businesses will not survive, those entrepreneurs will fail, but what will fail is their product or the service. That entrepreneur will find out new ways to satisfy the same demand if he understands his customer and the market well. And those will survive. So this is a short answer, but there are a lot of ways in which this question can be answered. Some other day, I would be able to tell you more on this. Okay. Can I have the next question?
So there's one question. Today's business world is being acquired by robots and computers.
Right.
So how will the job opportunity for an MBA person will change?
Oh yes, and see, not every job can be done by a robot. I told you, I spoke in between that the repetitive jobs will be done by robots. And see, mind you that, robots is a possibility to be deployed only by the large organizations till they start becoming very cost effective. Robots are very costly today. So only the very large organizations, which have a very established business model and a successful marketplace and a successful business, they will be able to put in robots. As more and more robots come in, mass production of robots will start. But that mass production will be there for only that particular work. So slowly, my guess is, for example, if you have to put, let us say, a lock mechanism in a car. A lock mechanism in a car, so when hundreds of thousands of cars are being made every day, a lock is a very repetitive work. A lot of things are done by robots in a car manufacturing plant. I'm just picking one example. So that lock, if it is to be put at the same place, if it is to be of the same weight, measure, length, width, depth, then that will be able to be done by a robot. Once one car plant puts that robot, it requires more robots along its entire assembly line. So while they started with one robot, they will go on to place an order for 100 robots. And that is only one plant. Then there'll be 10 plants. Then the entire car industry will start using that robot, that kind of robot, for that lock putting that lock on the car door. So eventually the first robo might have costed 5 lakhs of rupees. The last robo might cost 50,000 rupees. Unless that last robo costing 50,000 comes into the commercial market, the small scale enterprises will not be able to use those kind of technologies more effectively. So over a period of time, this change will happen with repetitive work. So 2 answers to it. One is, you may not be really in a spot of bother because the change will be gradual, and the mass scale production that will lead to reduction in costs of some of these new computer technologies will take some time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But by that time, you would already be well established in an organization if you follow the mantras of entrepreneurship. And the 2 is, wait a minute, I lost it somewhere. So the robots coming into place at work can only do repetitive jobs. They cannot do creative work. So every robo is programmed to do the job in a certain way in which the humans were doing it. But if the humans themselves found out a new way of doing it, that robo will be very difficult to come. If you keep changing your way, nobody can catch you. Remember the President of United States or President of India, when he travels by the car, nobody knows which car he is going to sit today in. So you could keep changing to develop unpredictability, and when it is unpredictable, it's very difficult to change a human being with a machine. Next question.
Yeah. So there is a student, Deepen, who is saying that online retail in India is less than 5%.
Yes.
And still 95% is offline. Yes. And same is the case even with America. So one should go for the offline business or online?
See, offline business will always survive. Remember, I don't know what is the age profile of that person who's asking that question, but about 7, 8 years back, 10 years back, they were talking about that Big Bazaar has come, and they are taking things not only offline in a large retail format, but they are also taking it online. They had launched a certain service model wherein they would make thousands of franchisees who would be able to sell product next door and deliver to the next door. Now they were always, the entire market was gung-ho about talking about that what will happen to the Kirana store. If you have seen around the last 2 months, if somebody has saved a lot of people not going hungry, it is your next door Kirana store. If you want a small 1 or 2 items, it is not very difficult to go. It is not very costly to go. You can go and come back. You don't spend much time. It just takes about 5 minutes. So, in fact, अगर आपके आसपास कोई बड़ा retail store अगर नहीं होगा, तो आप usually you'll always depend on the next door Kirana store. And think about online retail. Online retail is not graduated. Still, you know, they take about 6 to 8 hours for delivery. If I have to talk about the minimum time which is taken by somebody, it has been very, not less than 6 hours, I guess, 4 hours or 6 hours. But 4 hours and 6 hours also has a new fee structure. They just don't give you free, of course, those kind of emergency service. So what I mean to say is online is defining or satisfying a certain need of a household differently than an offline store is. The offline store will always retain its character, and I mind you that, you know, probably if there was a move towards more online and less offline, the move will temporarily be reversed till the people remember in the next 2, 3, 5 years that, you know, it is these next door Kirana stores who had actually helped me out during my COVID, and no Big Basket or no Amazon Pantry or no Big Bazaar actually came down to help me out. No DMart helped me out there. So the offline market will always retain its importance because it reaches the last mile in the most cost-effective manner. And the online retail formats are satisfying a need for those people who are ready to pay a lump sum, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 rupees, those who have credit cards and those who have defined their buying or limited their buying to 1 or 2 times in a month. They would rather do it online retail. And then, you have to also see at, penetration of smartphones and your ability to do a good transaction. Then there is a risk also. A lot of people feel that when I pay online, my data is getting captured and somebody will empty my account tomorrow. So those things will keep playing out in the minds of customers, and there'll always be space for online and there'll always be space for offline, because both are not intruding into each other's. But my take is, over a longer period of time, more and more business will go to online. Last question, can we have it?
Sir, there is a student who is asking which will thrive more, in fact, post COVID-19, entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship?
Which will, what more? I could understand the question. Which will?
I mean, which will be relevant?
Oh, more relevant? Okay, okay.
Yes.
In the immediate period, that's a good question. In the immediate period, entrepreneurial, a lot of efforts will fail. You will see that, there's already talk going on that 30–40% of restaurants will close, retail shops will close. A lot of startup efforts, if the failure rate was 90%, it will grow to 95–96%, because during this period, even the venture capitalist and funding agencies are not very keen to, give funds in the environment of uncertainty. So in this environment, entrepreneurs will find it very hot to survive and to go, and hence the first choice for people who are graduating, post-graduating, will be for a job. They would rather think like that, even if I have to be an entrepreneur, let me work for a certain number of years before the uncertainty goes away. Normalcy will return, but it's a temporary setback, because when people will see a lot of failures, it's very difficult to, keep yourself exciting when a lot of things are failing around. So entrepreneurship will lie low for the immediate next 2–3 years. But my guess, and this is coming from a lot of people whom I share my views with, that entrepreneurship is the way to go in the longer run, because कुछ ही लोग हैं जो दिलेरी, कुछ ही लोग हैं जिनकी हिम्मत होती है ऐसा कुछ कर पाने की, अपने भविष्य और अपने सपनों को साकार करने की. बाकी सब लोग जॉब्स करेंगे, ऐसा मेरा मानना है. बट ये जो ट्राइब है, ये जो लोग हैं, जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, वो ट्राइब ग्रो करती जा रही है. और ये मैंने पिछले 10 सालों में, जब से मैं स्टार्टअप्स के साथ काम करना शुरू किया है, आई सी द स्टार्स, सितारे दिखाई देते हैं यंग लोगों के मन में, दिमाग में, कि कुछ करना है, कुछ बड़ा करना है. बहुत सारे अच्छे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं चारों तरफ, इसलिए आपको लगता है कि आप भी कर सकते हैं. तो अगर आपको कुछ ऐसा करना है तो वो जल्दी ही करना चाहिए. लेट होने पे थोड़ा और प्रॉब्लम होती है. तो जैसे ऐसा मैंने कहा, व्हाट इज द राइट टाइम टू स्टार्ट a business venture? I always, my brief answer to that is yesterday. But the future will belong to entrepreneurs. The more successful of those people will be entrepreneurs. Intrapreneurs will keep their place, because more than 98–99% of people will be employed in organizations, and hence their place will always remain. How much of entrepreneurship will grow, or how much business founding will grow, is the question there. So entrepreneurship will always retain its luster. It is just that these skills are more in demand today because of the changing environment outside.
So we can take last question, one more question.
All right, please.
Yeah. If an entrepreneur comes up with a new idea and invests a lot of money in the venture, but it doesn't work out and there are a lot of huge losses. So in that situation, what do you recommend for an entrepreneur?
No, you talk about entrepreneur or
yes, entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Okay. No, that's a difficult question, but there are a lot of examples which go across, and it borrows from the culture of the company. So I remember in the Adani group, one of the former CFOs, he keeps sharing that, you know, these people, the Birlas, the Tatas, the Ambanis, the Adanis, they go into a lot of businesses and they make assessments periodically, what is working, what is not working, and then they come out of that business. A business failure is not necessarily, the first thing you have to define a business failure. It's not necessarily when you don't make money that you call yourself a failure. It is a basis, what projections did you do and what factors were controllable by you that you had in control. If the controllable factors were not in control and the business numbers that you had projected are not in place, then there is a failure. It is not that, you know, even profit-making enterprises close down just because you have some other place where you are making more profits, where you have always limited resources. So whether you put in business A, B, or C, or D, you will make your assessment basis where can I get the maximum return on the funds deployed. So what happens is a lot of entrepreneurial ventures do see the light of the day. They may go to the market, they may remain in the business development stage, they may remain in product development stage, or they may even remain in idea development stage. This is based on what resources does the company have and how much it can bet on a person's capability. So this person from Adani, he used to tell me that, you know, Gautam Adani himself would be fine even with, you know, if they have lost some 15 crores, 20 crores in a single transaction, he would be even fine. So now somebody would put a question, sir, वो already 1000 crore का मालिक होगा, इसलिए उसके लिए 10-15 crore का इतना फर्क नहीं होगा. Lekin, you know, it's more about, you know, every money is important. For a businessman, every piece of money is important. It is the way you react when there is a failure. Whether you shunted out that person, whether you said, okay, no problem, this did not work out, but I know you are a person of ideas, let us do something else. So the top person, when he sends some signals like that, the company develops a culture where every boss allows the person below to experiment, because his success becomes the boss's success, and when boss succeeds, his boss and the entire organization succeeds. So a culture cannot be developed so easily because, you know, entrepreneurs are of different kinds. Some people like complete control, and some people like that, okay, let me experiment, let people experiment. You have to look for an organization which has a good culture. Their failure will open up another door. But if there are restricted cultures, a failure might be end of the road there. But let me say the last line. A failed entrepreneurial effort or a failed entrepreneurial effort also, wherein you can demonstrate that I did what was expected of me, but there were the uncontrollables, factors in the environment, in the organization, in the resources side, in the technology side. They're not everything that you can control, right? It is because of them that failure happened, but I have tried and tested an opportunity. You are more employable than any other person who has not got this kind of an experience. That is what I want to end up with. Thank you very much for the day. We'll carry on tomorrow. And tomorrow I promise you that I'll continuously keep picking up questions from your chats in order to connect better. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm unable to switch on my camera because of some issues, sir. But I really would like to give you some of the opinions and the feedback coming from the students here in the group chat. They're talking about your session was very inspiring and it's a wonderful session. Thank you for sparing your valuable time and so on. Right, sir? So these are the feedback coming from the students.
I'm glad. Thank you all very much for the support, and we'll continue this interaction tomorrow as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we will all meet tomorrow at 11:30.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.